No, I'm not sure if it's been picked up at all. If it has, it's been maybe once or twice at the most. But as you say, it has been banned out because it's not quite where it was, like a patch or two ago, where it was just ban this hero or it will be first picked. But still very dangerous. And now, speaking of danger, that combo's just going to be there all the time. They got the Snapfire to combine up with the Chronosphere. Meanwhile, on the Felt side, that's a little unexpected. They'll take the Shaker, which means, well, I guess the Tiny goes core here, unless they're planning on the Earth Shaker being the core for them, but I don't really think they want to do that, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's where in previous metas and previous patches, you would say that Felt still have a little bit more flexibility, but they just simply don't. Tiny is now your mid laner, Batrider is now your off laner. It's where Tiny carry is just not really a thing anymore. If Paradis decided to take it up, I think that'd be a huge mistake. You just lose every single carry game. It's just not the same hero anymore. And I do think that mid Tiny still has a little bit of that value. You still just get that Blink Dagger super early. And of course, versus Puck, you make Puck go splat. You can still just burst her 100 to 0 at most stages of the game. It's also why that Shaker is a pretty sick pickup, just having that long range disable where simply you get caught by a Fissure, you can't really preempt that with phase shift, it always leads into another disable. So that's going to feel pretty nice for Felt, but that's where we can say, if I'm SG right now, well, we know you need a carry, we ban out 2 more carries, we make our Faceless Void matchup even better for ourselves, and then we'll worry about the Puck Tiny thing a little bit later, because otherwise, you still have Faceless Void, you still have Snapfire, you still have a ton of damage to feed into that Chronosphere. Maybe not as much as what would have been a nice pick in the Invoker, but that's why I felt banded out. But now I think coming to the final phase here, SG might have a little bit more flexibility just because they really hate Puck versus Tiny. I guess you could just say, Oscar, sorry, bud, it's your turn. But I feel like that's where Felt probably going to ban out 2 offlaners here as well. Both teams have a pretty good idea of what's going on in this draft.
And Oscar does have some offlane puck games under his belt
Hmm.
in the past. It wouldn't be too much of a stretch. It's probably not something he's going to like. He'll do some grumbling about it as they load in, I'm sure, but the option would technically still be there. But Felt, they're not really thinking in that manner with their ban. They take the Beastmaster away, and I can't really argue against that, right? Sure, the puck could go off lane, but I don't really think you care to use your final bans assuming that that would be the case.
Yeah, and that's where I would absolutely love a Lycan ban here, because Felt have also been the one team with the balls to actually go for it, which I think should be deserved, but I don't know. We'll have to see. I think that's another hero that, again, I'm just going to keep on valuing. I'm going to keep on saying it because it's going to matter, I think, a lot more as the meta does kind of turn around. But that's also where it felt ton of reserve time. They've got a minute here to figure out what they want to and what they don't want to do. And I do like the Night Stalker ban. Just a solid hero to take away. I think that's where a lot of the heroes that you would have wanted to lane against. The only thing you really would have been scared of is maybe a last pick Monkey King here if you did go for the NS. But at the same time, I think Snapfire does a very fine job of just usually drawing or making the lanes feel even more even. It's where Snapfire is still one of the best fours, even though I feel like a lot of times we don't see her unless it's paired with the Faceless Void, just because, well, you've got your Skywrath mains, and especially in Eddy, you've got your techies. And Oscar plays Centaur, a first pick of this tournament, I think, just because, well, he got the cart, got the Ags, but aside from day one when people were messing around with it, that hero is still not very possible. Has incredible item timings, is one of those few offlaners that rotates out of the offlane with Hood plus Blink Dagger, usually between 11 and 13 minutes. But people just don't like him because aside from Blink Hoofstomp, you kind of don't care about him. And in a case, or rather in this case, versus the Winter Wyvern, you can very easily get caught. Stampede is not your 100% get out of jail free card.
Yeah, it doesn't help that the rest of his kit has been tinkered with, I think, in the wrong direction, right? Double Edge and Retaliate just aren't. They don't move the needle the way that they did previously with certain versions of Centaur's kit. But hey, they're gonna run it. They've got a tanky front liner. I pray to God that we get to see the cart because even before when it was getting picked and people were experimenting with it, they weren't always going for that, and it just kind of made me sad because why would you pick it if you're not gonna go for the cart? He has a
And that's
cart.
funny.
He has a cart. What more do you need?
And they just counter it with last pick Lifestealer. I mean, we're in a
Uh,
different patch. This is a different time zone. This is not your Slarks. This is not your Nagas. This is not your illusion-based carries. This is not your Terrorblade. This is not even your Troll, I want to say. This is Centaur Warrunner versus Lifestealer. Welcome to
Uh,
2022. Of course, can't do much versus the Lifestealer now in lane. I feel like that's where Oscar might already need to adopt probably the more creep cut oriented style. It's where your damage is pretty much 50-50 for those first 3 levels, and then you can do some pretty nifty trades with Double Edge, where Oscar just straight up has more HP to play around with than Paradise, but it's always a losing battle. Eventually, the Lifestealer just heals up more than you could possibly do, and then hopefully Oscar can get something still out of the lane because, well, now it's a hero that farms incredibly quickly, but if you're getting ran at by a Lifestealer the entire laning stage, you're an offlaner that cannot rotate. You have to finish your items before you leave. It's where I think the counter pick is really going to slow up SG quite a bit.
doesn't quite have the same impact that they might have been hoping for with that singular pick. So, not a bad choice, but it's definitely not what we're used to seeing. But we'll see how this all plays out. SG, the 1-0 lead in the series, for the 2-0 sweep to kind of break a little bit of a logjam maybe towards the bottom section of those standings and push themselves into a more advantageous position. Whereas Felt, well, salvage the 1-1, right? Keep yourself even, keep yourself in striking distance. That has to be the name of the game here for them in terms of really both where they stand in the standings and maybe just for this game as well. Don't get caught out by the massive chrono and then see where that gets you.
Yeah, and we'll have to see because, you know, if we end up in that 35, 40-minute time range, we do have a Faceless Void that is probably going to go Midas and is probably just going to look for those really late timings. It's also where SG kind of coming in, I think, just right off the bat as maybe the better team. It's where any play they make that is successful is just going to feel that much easier for them to play. I do wonder, though, how much they value the Lifestealer versus Centaur Warrunner lane, if we'll see them maybe swap things up or if they're pretty happy. But maybe they just sit in their lanes because Yuma's already got the stick. It looks like they're already preempting that, yeah, we'll just lane it standard, not get too cheeky with it. Just make sure that we get what we want out of our lanes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you could try and switch it up, but it seems like a situation where you're probably just going to be able to tough it out, right? And you probably won't lose too much in the process unless somebody makes a sizable mistake on their positioning. So they feel pretty safe with the Faceless Void in Yuma's hands there. We do still have a bit of a DC issue, though. At first, it was the Faceless Void who had DC'd. He's now coming back. I believe Oscar was disconnected there for a moment as well. He's on his way back, so here's hoping that this is a short one, that these reconnects do the trick. No, they do not. I jinxed it. I'm sorry. Now they're both DC'd again.
Yeah, what can you do? What can you do? And honestly, the only thing to talk about, and I guess we can talk about Oscar because he's the one DC'd, but double ring of protection. Our boy's beefy. Our boy's got an additional
Oh.
4 armor in the lane. And that is something to be said about Centaur. Another one of those change around the patches that people were kind of excited about, kind of belly aching over. You lost your armor. You have a lot of HP regen, but unfortunately, you do just get hit now. And I think that's where maybe this Lifestealer lane could be even worse than maybe previous patches are, just because Lifestealer has never really cared about that. But now that you have 0 armor, it could be a little bit of more of a toughie, but we'll have to see. 8
I
HP
mean,
regen, though.
yeah. It's a pretty solid mark. You see he's got that Ring of Health. Pretty much the first item that he's queued up, so if he can find the last hits, just make that happen, then between all 3 of those rings, I think he would be okay in almost all circumstances. You'd have to get pretty far forward to get punished, especially since Paradise, I don't know. Ghoul Frenzy's neat, but it's not open wounds anymore, right? You don't have that just you don't get to move kind of opening.
Yeah, and, well, we'll have to see. Kind of just staring at each other in the mid lane. Unfortunately, it's where you know that Soldier's just going to get the tree grab level 1. He is a mid-tiny. Everybody has spells that really they cannot make too many plays with, and with Chen as well. I feel like SG could honestly only get 1 bounty rune here if they're not too careful, because as things stand, I don't know if Lifestar is going to be able to slip a rune underneath the Centaur, but that also does force Oscar to skill up the Hoof Stomp level 1. And Paradise does not want level 1 Rage.
And not exactly conducive to having a good laning setup. So it ends up being a 2 for 2. LTH is trading some damage with the Wyvern here, and initially, that was a trade LTH wins, but Arctic Burn kind of evens that one out.
Was that smart?
Yep, ends up being a pretty nice trade, and it's funny. Our Arctic Burn, I've never seen a spell get backtracked more than more than Arctic Burn. Yeah, at first it was 8 at all levels, then it was 10 at all levels, and those 2 seconds just made it a little bit too good. So now we're down to 7, you know.
Wow.
Feels bad.
Yeah, I mean, kind of amazing when you think about it, right? Wyvern, the kind of hero that Wyvern is, and then, oh yeah, by the way, your Q's on nearly a 40-second cooldown at level 1. It doesn't always make sense, but it is an incredibly powerful spell. But very few other characters in the position that Wyvern usually plays has something that sort of heavy on cooldown at first level, as we do have, unfortunately, another DC. It is Yuma having some issues once again here, so unfortunately we are starting to maybe start inching towards the territory where somebody might have to bring up pause time. You don't really like to talk about it, but Yuma can't get back quickly. We might have to look at that timer, but he is attempting to reconnect now, and well, it took 1 or 2 tries last time. This time, though, it's looking like he's going to give it a go. Let's see. How's he moving? How's he acting here? Cutting down a tree, testing the response time. Seems okay.
Yeah, and that's where I think this lane is not too exciting. Yuma definitely has to be careful, especially in regards to how far his lane is up. But aside from that, look, he's pretty happy. And look at the Warden. Body blocking out that small camp, has the medium camp blocked as per usual versus the Chen. All the preemptive steps you have to make this lane just a little bit easier for yourself. Definitely seen, I think, quite a few Chens just carry by getting a single good creep, and then suddenly you're pretty sad. And that's also where Prada has gotten unlucky. Do not feel like he's happy with the Wild Wing and missed the sentry. Very unfortunate for the Chen.
2 sentries that just missed the mark. That's a little painful. And yeah, without a creep, what does Prada really do here? I mean, he can right-click, I guess, for all that that's worth, but you really just take away the reason why you drafted this hero in the first place for at least a few minutes.
No, feels pretty nice.
Ooh, Yuma lost his
Don't have to
courier.
be too scared. Yeah, just Warden with the ward. I feel like that is a courier snipe, though, that you do say to yourself, yeah, I was probably ward. And Warden steals the large creep as well? Okay, and is looking for another courier?
Oh, man. Doing
This
a
guy's
lot of
just...
work.
Yeah, it's just the small plays, you know? You can just afford to keep Yuma and Fade in this 1v1, because Fade is, again, kind of forcing him back. Bottom, though, finally got the kill, just the cookie into the hoof stomp. Clean play.
And Paradise may be tough to get onto, but the Wyvern is not nearly as mobile, durable, threatening, really, any word you want to pick. It is a much easier kill. It's first blood to SG, but the Wyvern does get to come back with some regen, so perhaps a little bit of a reset on the lane there. Going for a courier, and he actually does manage to get it. That was a weird, very weird path that the courier sort of took there in between the 2 tree lines, so pathing algorithm cost Oscar his courier there. I think it did deliver its item out first, so he's not without that, but it's a nice little play from the Wyvern to get some money back.
Yeah, no, not the worst case scenario. And we are seeing a little bit of that divide net worth wise. There's also a glyph, and whenever you see the glyph, you wonder who's getting glyphed on. I guess it was just Solji. He avid for a wave and now mid. A lot of
Does he
pressure that
chase
KXY is
it?
putting under you. Got the toss, but few tower shots. Oh, KXY is
Waning Rift's
panicking.
away. It's a level 1 Waning Rift, so I don't know if it would have been enough to kill Solji, so realistically, that was probably the smarter play. I think if he goes for the kill and gets greedy, he ends up losing, so not what he wanted, but at least he was able to avoid the death.
Yeah. do not want to go down in that type of situation, and they will just both have to go for the bounty run. So, not the worst case scenario, but scary stuff.
I don't know. With that in mind, now you sort of go back to the decision to jump to the orb in the first place, right? Because if you weren't going to get the Waning Rift off in time, then that toss play is there. So it just felt really risky, but eh. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. KXY doesn't die. It's really not that big of a deal, but we'll see if it changes his decision-making, perhaps, the next time he has that kind of opportunity.
And we'll have to see. Meanwhile, though, lanes do kind of simmer down. It is difficult to make plays. Unfortunately, Prada is going to have to wait till level 3 before he really gets a creep. Still just being subjugated, but bottom LPH.
He doesn't have mana for Cookie. Actually, he does if he pops the Mango, which he will, but...
So many creeps.
Yeah. Ends up cooking Oscar back. I'm not sure if that was what they wanted or not, but... Yeah, they really didn't have much more kill opportunity after that first window passes.
And then all he has to do is not get too denied here with his quite heavy base damage, or excessive base damage over the lifestealer, but not the worst case. He's last hitting really nicely on the Centaur, but again, that's what this hero has to do. You have to get good early farm, otherwise your hero really misses its timing quickly. But until then, again, the map is gonna simmer down. It's one of those games where everybody kind of needs their level 6. You don't really have enough damage to make too many plays happen. Aside from going for kills onto supports or finding runes, there's really not that much to do. Mid, though.
Yep.
Huh.
Middle lane, Solji gets caught, LTH. Well, he survives. He makes a long, long trip back, but being off map so long kind of takes them by surprise, and that's a big kill. The Puck is now in a much stronger position. He's even going to get a little bit of damage, I think. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. A little bit of damage on the tier 1 is what I was going to say, but that siege creep, it just can't stay in the back.
Yeah. Oh, he's more focused on the lane, or rather on the rune anyway, but both supports from Felt make sure that that doesn't refill the Puck's bottle. But just a little bit of a mistake from the Tiny initially there, just getting picked off before he gets Grow. Grow just makes it... Oh, yeah?
LTH just continues this tour across the map. It's, oh geez, there we go. It's not a quick kill by any means, but they will eventually get it. While that happens, though, Oscar is in between towers, and now Felt no, he has no backup, so he just has to TP home. Does he make it? Yes, he does. Just barely, but he gets home safe.
Yep, is able to make it out. Isn't too worried about that, and that is the worry now that the Lifestealer has a few more levels. You can just walk him down with the phase boots as well. You don't have that base damage anymore. Well, you have a little bit more base damage than the Lifestealer, but it's just the harass ends up being a little bit too much. Have to see how he itemizes.
They were thinking about, oh god, they were thinking about KXY. They don't get the initial hit there as the Wyvern doesn't come in time, but the Dream Coil gets deployed in exchange. Just, I'm not really sure what more can be done here. It feels like SG, yeah, they just kind of have to back away, and I mean, he had to know. LTH wasn't close to the kisses, so putting out the Dream Coil there, a little bit awkward.
You know, very awkward, and it was a situation where it feels like KXY thinks that the Snapfire is level 6, because there's just no way that works, you know? It's just that much damage that you're lacking that you're like, what's kind of going on here? And that is something that SG kind of have to be concerned with, because aside from those kisses, they are a pretty low damage lineup. It's where everything is going to come in waves, and it's going to come really just based around that. And if you miss out on that burst, there is a lot of tank on the Felt side. Everybody is going to be able to survive for quite a while, even on the support side of things. There's a lot of heals that can get through. There's a lot of interrupts that can happen. It's where I do think that, unfortunately, the Centaur and the Puck just don't really mesh very well together. It is a very slow burn type of game, I think, coming out from them. And that's where Yuma is even going greedier for this Midas. And there's a coil top.
Okay. Yeah, Yuma doesn't want to get too close, though, because he's got about half HP, but he would like to still be involved with this kill onto Fade. They are going to be able to get it. Meanwhile, Stampede committed as the Warden tries to TP away, but the Cookie is going to cancel. And Yuma picks up both kills, so... Oh, there's your Midas. Completely finished off for him, and they might get one more here. Does Yuma have the distance? Well, not even a little bit, but he did it anyway. And now, Solji coming in, you got to make sure you don't get caught out here. The Tiny wants cutoff angle. Does he have enough damage to actually kill this, though?
Oh, I think he's going to change for the Chen. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. On to Yuma, no. On to Prada, absolutely. So, they will get that kill. Yuma, though, had his Hand of Midas delivered out, so the farming rate's going to increase for him. And if you're SG, I think you're still looking at a pretty solid early stage here, right? 5 kills in 10 minutes. Farming pretty well on your cores. Just got to watch out for aggression coming out from Felt over the next few minutes.
Yeah, I just wonder if this Midas first before Treads build is any indication of how difficult the lane was versus the Batrider. Doesn't sound like a fun lane. And Fade as well, going for a much greedier item build, which I absolutely agree with. Last time around, he went for the Tranquils into the drums and then just ended up feeling like he couldn't be out onto the map very long. Woo, Paradise getting looked at in the bottom lane. Doesn't have Rage. He's still healing up in that Infest, though. 12 HP on the range, or on the melee creep. And he does walk away, but there you go.
LTH, okay. Yeah, why not? Maybe if the timings sort of came up perfectly, but was still Rage till TP out. Nice play from the Lifestealer. Meanwhile, up top, Yuma's going to drop down a Chronosphere. Looking for a quick kill onto the Wyvern, but the Avalanche... Oh, that kind of breaks up the momentum, and there's no kill. That's Chrono used, and Yuma... He might not be safe here. Avalanche is not going to be up for a few more seconds, but the toss is still there. Solchi, though... Oh, if he could cut... Wait a minute, he could. He had a Quelling Blade. Well, we're not going to talk about that. He wasn't able to get the toss off to cancel the TP, and Yuma gets away.
Yep. And again, wasted Chrono, though, just overestimating his damage. Don't feel like he really would have even had enough. It's where he does just have 4 points in Time Walk right now, as you probably should, but Coil mid, looking for the play onto the easy targets. That's your kisses as well. Batrider is dancing, though, and he's not going to go down, and you have to be careful. Tiny's here. They know he doesn't have very much mana, though, and Fade. Well, if he doesn't get the last one to the puck, he could just die.
There's going to be a Stampede. Cold Embrace, buying some time, but LTH gets in onto a stationary target, and they find the first kill. They get the second onto the Wyvern. Now they want the Tiny as well. They hit him with the Hoof Stomp into the silence, but no one other than Oscar has much HP here. Yeah. They don't want to chase anymore. They got some nice kills. 2 kills there. Tower taken. Not too shabby if you're SG.
Yeah, just unfortunate. The only reason Solji didn't have any mana, of course, is because he was in that top lane playing, but also used a lot of it to clear up a large camp stack that they had been making for the past few minutes here, just to get him his Blink Dagger a little bit faster. But then the dive comes in, you're simply not prepared. Not to mention, your supports are really needing to get some of these levels here. You gave the Tome over to the Winter Wyvern, getting that curse out early, which is definitely important, but it's time to take a step back a little bit here. Nice solo kill, though, from Paradise, but has the Infest. Gonna start walking here, but...
Can they really do anything here? He's got Rage up in 5, and yeah, they're not going to be fast enough, so... That's twice now. He's able to infest his way out of trouble, and this time he got the kill into LTH first. He even gets a D ward. Little bit of extra money for him, but by sticking around...
Silence.
Yeah. There's KXY, Dream Coil deployed, right-click in, and... Well, if he hadn't gone for the D ward, maybe he would have had a little bit more time to get out in front before KXY could hit him, and... A bit unfortunate. Didn't really have any way of knowing, though, that the puck was coming.
Yeah, just ends up being a free kill. Witchblade also being done. Unfortunately, Prada lost maybe 1 creep there, but gets the mech out. Might lose 1 more, but okay. I think that might have been Blink reveal, though. KXY needs to be careful. He should know that Tiny can just Avatoss him here, but...
The kiss is coming in, though. They're just going to turn the fight. KXY... Well, now he needs a way out, but there's where the Stampede comes in, into the cookie, so... In and out, I suppose, and unfortunately for the Tiny, he kind of accidentally initiates for his opponents. Didn't really have any way of knowing that's the way it was going to go. Not sure if they knew LTH was there, but... Just kind of plays like that for Felt have been happening multiple times, where they miss an initiation by a little bit, or they stick around in a lane for 10 seconds too long, things of that nature, where the idea in and of itself, ET, is not wrong, it's just not quite the right time and place.
Yeah, and now we've got Blink Dagger finished on your Centaur. Still need to be a little bit careful. One of the biggest mistakes on Centaur is getting overly active without the Stampede. It's where you do need to be careful, especially using Stampede as another initiating tool. You can fall into a pretty hard mistake where you do just get cleaned up if your TP gets broken, but it's also top. Looking for the puck. Has the jaunt, though.
Well, they killed his courier, I suppose. That's something, but they don't get the man himself. KXY walks away. He does have to take a trip back to the base now, but TP's up in 25. Stampede's going to be back up in about the same amount of time, so they could look for something, although they already kind of are. Want the Wyvern to come a little bit further forward, but he's not going to fall into that trap just yet.
Now, map's going to slow down a little bit. You still want to make plays with your tiny Blink Dagger, but you also want to give something over to the Warden. Make sure your Earthshaker is still farming up as well. And even though I do like the greedier build out from Fade, just means that his BKB is going to be a little bit slower here, but fight top. Coil has the Blink. They have the kisses in just a little bit, but not initially, but doesn't matter. They have enough magic burst.
Solji gets taken down, and the Warden... I mean, really, that was the only play he had. He throws out a Fissure, and that's kind of it. Pre-blink, but what is this? Down bot. They did ult onto Prada. This should be a kill. I mean, it's nice. It's a kill. Good. Chrono was used. That's great. You just kind of wish you could have made that play without Solji dying on the other side.
Yeah, and now they do bring the Snapper and the Centaur back here, though, and this might be, yeah, just your free kill onto the Wyvern. No way to survive that. Not the biggest target, as the Bat Rider just kind of walks up into you and says hello, but sure, you'll take those. Just get your spells on CD, right? Because now Mortimer Kisses and Chrono are now going to perfectly align, more or less, so maybe could have fiended a little bit more, but gets the guy who would have killed your wards too off the map.
Smoke him if you got him, right? Got to make use of those. If you hold it too long, then it just doesn't do you much good. As Solji is getting caught out here again. This is a bit of an awkward one. He pops the Illusion Rune, but they hold on to that Dream Coil until after he activates it. He really just had no way out, and this is not acceptable if you're Feld. You can't have Solji getting caught out like this. This was the guy who's supposed to set the pace, right? It's supposed to be him and the Bat trying to make some plays here while the Lifestealer farms. Instead, Solji's 0-3, Fade also 0-3, and we're not seeing any of those plays. In fact, now Paradise, the person you're trying to make space for, is the one who gets jumped mid, and he's just straight up dead.
Oh, it's just a perfect chain stun. Beautifully orchestrated from SG, and yeah, it's just not coming through. And maybe with the Warden's Blink Dagger being finished, we can see an Echo play to catch KXY off guard, but the thing as well is that unless they're the aggressors, KXY is just always on top of you. You're never getting on top of him. You have to find the puck first. You have to be the one that starts this fight in. Look at it.
Okay, that's a buyback. Warden comes in, drops the ult. Damage is not that effective, though. Between Mech and Hand of God, everyone's healed back up, and now they're looking for Solji. They're going to stun him up. Oh, that's a disaster. Oh, no. Okay. Potentially saving, but look at KXY. He kept on chasing. They will get the kill. Solji still goes down. Can they get anything out of this? Paradise is going to rejoin the fight. He wants Oscar. That would be a valuable kill, and it looks like they're going to get it. Oscar goes down. LTH died as well. They're going to try to track onto Prada, who is TPing home. He's going to make it out, and while they chase after Prada, KXY and Yuma combine forces onto the Warden. So, if you're Felt, you found kills. This number here on the left, looking at the teamfight recap, it's positive. That's important. But you used a lot here, right? 4 deaths in total with the Wyvern buying back twice, and I don't know, ET. I mean, at the time you mentioned you did like this play, the Boots of Travel. I did too when he got it, but now the lack of a Blink Dagger is really just killing him.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard to play, and that was a fight where SG had pretty much none of their ultis, which is going to be the toughest thing that Felt have to deal with in the current moment, because now Snapfire is just going to hang around near Yuma. Anybody that comes to this top lane is probably just going to get chronoed. Or, hey, look at this. Let's force Roche. This isn't even with the Wraith Pact, which we usually see. This is just them saying, we've got Chen, we've got Mech. We also have all of the wards in the world to see you coming forward, as our Winter Wyvern might just get picked off for free here, and then immediately back into the pit. Nothing you can really do here to contest. It's where knowing that that Echo Slam is on CD as well, as you just found the right moment.
Yeah, they're looking pretty damn good here. Another kill. That's their 19th now in 19 minutes. And Yuma, yeah, he's already made space for it. He's taking the Aegis. Cleans that up. Meanwhile, his teammates were looking for a fight. They spotted Fade. They hit him up in the Dream Coil. There's the silence. There's the kisses. It's not very clean, though. Fade still has a chance. No, he doesn't. Never mind. He tried to TP, but wishful thinking on his part as KXY finds the kill. He is now 11-0 ET on this puck, and this is the dream scenario. This is what every mid laner wants from their puck pick. He has been able to go in where he wants, when he wants, and there has almost never been any risk of him dying. As okay, counterplay on the other side. Yuma not losing that Aegis just yet, now popping the Chrono. And here comes the TP. His teammates are in. They're going to look for Paradise, stunning him up, chaining him down. Can they finish him? Okay, never mind. Thought for a moment that they had walked away too soon, but they'll still find the kill. They get Solji as well. It's turning into a disaster. Everyone's going in one by one. That's a nice Winter's Curse. It will finally kill KXY, but the cost, ET, the cost is too damn high.
And hey, a lot of gold for your Wyvern, but only your Wyvern. Don't even get the XP on the other two heroes. And that's also just brutal from Yuma there. He really decides to switch targets onto the Lifestealer because he looks at the Tiny and says, well, you're time dilated. You use both your spells. You're effectively useless right now. Let me go kill your carry first and then turn things around. It's just too much that they have to play against right now. And of course, got the puck. That's a pretty big first kill here, but I feel like now we need to see maybe another smoke, maybe another play where we just see the puck get killed. We just need to see the Tiny connect. We need to see Felt start off the fight first. And you'd say, well, they've got Echo. They've got all their abilities back up again. The only thing they don't have is Curse. It's time to go, but something just feels wrong with Felt. They feel extremely scared to make these plays happen. And SG, they're on the opposite side. They're completely calm. They're waiting for you to walk into them and create those mistakes. Look at them, they're just standing on the high ground, knowing that they can make and really afford to be this far forward because they've got Mech, they've got Force Staff. They don't even have Chrono, and they're up here still.
Yeah, this is just a supreme level of confidence, and now they're going to smoke on smoke, potentially. Here comes Fade. Does he go for a lasso? Not quite yet. Yuma's in first. The Warden does drop down an ult. The damage isn't great, but it gives Paradise an opening to try and push his way into this fight. Can he take anyone down? He's trying for Oscar, but there's going to be the Stampede. Resetting. Prada gets taken down, though, and there's a Winter's Curse onto Yuma, but KXY comes in. Mortimer kisses into the Dream Coil, and it's done. It's over. Felt lose just about everyone. Solji is the only one still alive, and he is not making it home. KXY blinks forward, gets the Witchblade. They're going to slow him up. They're gonna knock him down. Prada for 5. That's pretty awful if you're Felt.
Yeah, just the worst case scenario in which that popped. They didn't even place a ward up here, and that's why you see LTH after the fact putting a sentry, because you would think that maybe there was enough time to get any type of vision up there, but no, it just doesn't work out for you. And again, even though it's staggered cooldowns, you have enough. You don't have Chronosphere, you don't have the kisses initially, but you have the coil, you have the stampede, you kite around, you can't hit anybody with this Lifestealer, and you don't have anything to keep them around you either. And the Lifestealer's just falling off. He is just getting no items right now. He's been looking for this Deso for the longest time. Maybe they get Yuma here, but there's the Chrono.
Chrono deployed. They're gonna go after Paradise first. They just stun him up. He doesn't even get the rage off before he dies. This is just so bad. Paradise is going to buy back. They're trying to force this fight. Yuma is dropping low. But ET, that's only his first life, and now they don't even have the tower to sort of anchor themselves. This is going to get dicey. They drop down the Dream Coil onto 2. Yuma jumping back and forth. They get the Hoof Stomp down onto 2 as well, so it's Paradise and Solji in some trouble. There's a nice Infest play, trying to keep them alive. The problem is, that means that the backline was unsecured. The Wyvern goes down, Fade falls as well. Solji still trying to make it back into the base. KXY jumps ahead. That is going to help them take down both, and at this point, ET, Felt might be looking for the door. Yep, there it is. GG called. They will throw in the towel, and SG, well, you think that they weren't a little upset, kind of getting messy on the back end of game number 1. They just clean it up, and they completely dominate the second match.
Well, hey, maybe in game 1, SG, you know, they had to put the brakes on a little bit, had to go low and slow. KXY had maybe an off gain on the Queen of Pain, but You had Yuma just carrying you through the matchup, and Morphling's inherently a little bit of a slower carry. But then they say, okay, it's our time. It's our time to pick the Faceless Void. You didn't take it. Well, we're going to do this to you. We're going to make you sad. We're going to play this incredibly difficult lineup. But I think really the takeaway here is look at this Chen hero maybe a little bit more. He is
Mm,
still right there. If Andong is going to get banned out, especially teams with first pick, the teams that can run this certainly can still make this hero look good. But that's also where, yet again, Faceless Void, Snapfire, it just works. It's
yeah.
just damage. It's just looks even better because LTH and Oscar, I think, just made it look so easy to play without Chronosphere because they were constantly making those moves happen. But also, Oscar on the Centaur, kind of, it's the legacy hero. You haven't seen it in a while, but standout performance. He got that
Yeah.
timing. He pretty much hit every beat he needed to. I'm looking back right now. Yeah, it's about that 13-minute hood plus blink dagger. I mean, it's basic stuff, but just kind of worked out for him.
Yeah, and now the one thing that I really do sort of wish we could go back and look at, I mentioned it during the game, if Fade has a blink instead of the Boots of Travel, does that change? Do Felt get to play more aggressively? Do they get more lasso plays that maybe slow up or avoid entirely the build-up that SG were able to put together? It's unfortunately a what if that we don't get a real answer to, but it's just going to potentially haunt Fade in this game.
Yeah, and we'll see because, you can't be too upset. I don't even feel like they really got to play all too much Dota. I think the biggest disappointment was just not seeing this mid tiny become the animal, become the
Right.
one who is suddenly running around and killing all these heroes. And it's a lot more difficult to play in the mid position. As we already know, it's a lot harder to farm. It's a lot harder to make up for lost time because really you are just spells at this point. And it's why we see it as a 4 position. But they try to get a little bit cheeky with it and definitely get punished.
Yeah, they get pretty heavily punished. So unfortunate for Felt, but uh, it is what it is. SG Esports come in with a clean 2-0 sweep, really kind of just leaping their way a couple spots up the standings there. So they're going to be very happy with that performance. In the meantime, we are going to be getting ready now for our final series of the day. We get to move on from the lower section of the standings to the absolute top ET. We do have that sort of very much anticipated matchup between the Cut and Ravens, the top two squads in the event so far. So that's going to be some interesting stuff. Ravens had their winning streak brought to an end. The Cut lost 0-2 to Felt last night when they weren't really expected to. So both teams have been slowed up a little bit here. We'll see who can sort of bounce back and regain their momentum first. So it's going to be a very interesting series that's coming your way in just a little bit. Before we do go to that break, though, ET, we do have to talk a little bit here about that giveaway once again. Cue up the big old shiny graphic. You can see it on your screen right now. We're giving away some pretty damn cool stuff. Get yourself some BTS merchandise there. We got hoodies, we got shirts. I think it's just hoodies and shirts, but hoodies and shirts are awesome. What more do you want? But, well, what more do you want? How about a free monitor? An Armada 25 FHD gaming monitor, to be precise, that we will be giving to one lucky viewer. So if you don't want to use that promo code for 20% off that we were mentioning earlier on, you can just potentially win one for free. To do that, go to bts.gg/pro series giveaway. That big ol' URL right at the top of your screen right there. Enter for your chance to win. The giveaway will end at, midnight? Yeah, midnight on the 7th or midnight on the 8th, depending on how you tell time. So then we'll draw someone and we'll see who wins it. So go to the address, enter for free. It's quite literally free, and you can get yourself a monitor and some cool BTS stuff. So thank you all very much for sitting through the whole giveaway spiel. We'll now be back with the start of that final series once again. It's going to be Ravens versus the Cut. You don't want to miss it. Stick around and we'll be right back.